Jennifer Sanessa, you're watching News 24 Live. Barry Morris from NewODB is joining me on Google Hangouts, and today we are going to talk about startup companies. Now Barry, before we get into it, I want you to explain for me what exactly a scale-out SQL database is.
Wow, there's a long answer and a short answer, and the short one takes about an hour. So let me see if I can say it in a few sentences. So database systems historically run on one computer, and that's a big problem. People want to run on lots of cheap computers, and they don't generally do that. And that's the very hard problem that we've solved. So if you're somebody that needs to run database systems, you're basically buying big, expensive computers when you'd prefer to buy lots of cheap computers, and we're really the only company that can give you that latter solution.
Wow. Now, I want to take it way back to the beginning. What drew you to the tech and software industry?
Oh, good question. So I'm originally South African, of course, although I'm based in the US. I was over in the UK. I actually studied there in Oxford, and started in engineering. I found it kind of boring, and came across software. Found that it was really fascinating to me, and I've just been drawn in over a period of a few decades, deeper and deeper into the software world, and particularly what we call the infrastructure software world, which is to do with databases and system software and things like that. So it's really taken me, it's taken me from South Africa to the UK to Ireland and now in the US. It's been an interesting trip.
I would say that your journey makes you an expert in how to maneuver through the technology world and have a really great startup. So I want to know, what do you think the elements every person who wants to have a successful startup needs?
The number one thing, and this might be a bit of a surprise to you, but the number one thing that I would say to entrepreneurs is stamina. It's one of these things which is wonderfully sort of exciting and satisfying thing to be doing, but it really takes a lot of commitment, and there are lots of disappointments. There's lots of hard work, and so that's the primary thing. People tend to think that it's all about, I don't know, being creative or being smart or something like that. You need those things, but the number one thing as a personal characteristic is the stamina to take your idea and really turn it into something big.
Now, I know that you're no longer on the African continent. You're hangouting with us all the way from the States. But what's the capacity for growth when it comes to startups on the African continent?
Oh, I think it's significant, both in Africa, where I think that there are many solutions needed that are not the same solutions as you would have elsewhere, but also, and I'm quite familiar with companies in South Africa that are selling into the rest of the world. South Africans have a long tradition of being very good at this kind of technology. They're probably the most celebrated cloud technology in the world, which is the Amazon technology that was built right in Cape Town. So very, very, very good people, and an opportunity which is both selling into Africa, but also selling into the rest of the world.
I think Cape Town has a huge startup culture. Is that something that's unique to where we are, or is that something that's growing in a lot of the major cities worldwide?
Well, I think that there's definitely a sort of a wave of startup momentum across the world, and there's all sorts of kind of more or less technical reasons for that. They basically boil down to that it's easier to start companies now than it ever has been. A lot of the things that you need, the kinds of systems, computer systems, services that you need are available on the internet, easily found, inexpensive, and so on. So there's a big startup wave kind of worldwide for sure. And of course, as you know, when you look at big economies, it's really the startups and the early stage companies that are driving a lot of the growth of those economies. So it's a very important area.
Is there a particular place in Africa that's really leading the startup game?
My experience has been that it's been amazing to see recent developments around Stellenbosch. That's was a surprise to me. I've obviously known the place for some years. And what I've seen recently is really sort of significant activity there in terms of technology startups. Not entirely clear why that is. I think it's related, obviously, to a very good university, but there seems to be a very strong culture there of innovation and sort of technical startup activity.